What's going on? Welcome back to On Texas Football. My name is CJ Vogel. We're going to be taking a little bit of look as we head into the back half of May. What's to come in June? And of course, I'm not yet talking about the official visits, but what's going to be happening beforehand. Of course, a little bit of a peek with the 2026 and potentially 2027 quarterback situations. Of course, Troy Hune and Dia Bell will be coming to campus as well. And then at the very end, we'll hear from two really talented prospects out of University High. That's London Smith, the 2026 wide receiver, who Texas is very much interested in at the moment. And of course, the 2027 defensive back, Davontrae Kirkland. You don't see many defensive backs looking like Kirkland does at the moment, heading into his sophomore campaign. Really impressive player. I was at the spring game for both of them on Wednesday of this past week. So we'll have a little bit of an update. You'll get to hear from the two of them later on in this episode. But first, I wanted to talk about what's to come in the 2026 class. Of course, June 1st, the first elite camp for the Texas Longhorns. They'll have one June 13th as well. Interestingly enough, this is about the time that you see commitments occur for the quarterbacks in each of the previous cycles. Of course, you look back a little bit. Trey Owens was a summer commit the year before his class really started going. KJ Lacey committed around this time a year ago as well. Now you're starting to get down to probably just the two quarterback prospects at the moment. That's Dia Bell out of American Heritage in Florida. And of course, Troy Hune, who's very familiar now to the On Texas football community. He's been around to Texas several times, was down in Austin several times this spring, got to check out a few practices, of course, and had his eyes closely on the Texas spring game as well. Hune practices and throws with and is trained by Danny Hernandez, which is and should be a familiar name out of California. He, of course, was Malik Murphy's trainer when he committed out of California, obviously played at Texas for the last two seasons before moving on to Duke, transferring there this offseason. So connections there. Sarkisian, Danny Hernandez, go back a little bit. There is a connection there. Hune right now, as I was able to talk to him during his visit in Austin, has yet to really master the quarterback position, but is still very new to the position. He told me right around the back end of his middle school days is when he started getting into the mindset of being a quarterback. He said, yeah, I've always had an arm. I've looked at it and said, okay, this is probably the spot for me. I understand the position. Now I need to go out and kind of maximize things. And I would say he's done a hell of a job. Of course, Texas has been in on him early on. LSU was one that thought they could make a strong push for him as well. He has family and connections in the area, which makes things very interesting for Texas. And, of course, Dia Bell out of American Heritage, Florida, very popular school. Of course, Jerry brings up all the time the popular cornerbacks that come out of there as well. But, hey, Dia Bell, the son of Rajah Bell, the athleticism is going to be there. He actually surprised some folks showing up for a Texas spring ball practice or in late March, So he popped up a little bit more recently on the Texas radar. Texas went out and saw him throw this past week as well. That was AJ Milwee, and I'll talk about him and what happens whenever he gets on the recruiting trail a little bit here in a second. But a really talented prospect. Texas down to the two of them. Both of them will be on campus June 1st for the Elite Day. Both of them will be throwing for the Elite Day, which leads me to 2027 because Texas will also be hosting Weston Nielsen, the quarterback out of Bastrop. So not too far, about a 30, 45-minute drive, depending on how I-35 is treating you that day. Talented guy, really, really talented. Texas has been on him for quite a while. He was able to visit 3 different times this spring. Of course, the most recent being for the Texas spring game. I caught up with Weston just over a week ago down in Bastrop, kind of getting an idea of how things were going. AJ Milwee was at practice that day. And I wanted to mention this. When Texas coaches are on the road, and they're the only staff that I've seen do this so far, so it was certainly noteworthy whenever I saw it. They come out with the little camcorders. And so it looks like a mid-2000 slam dunk competition in the NBA when you got all the guys sitting front row with the camcorders holding up, watching these guys go through drills, working on their foot, their drop backs, footwork, release, whatever the mechanical side of things. Texas coaches are taking note. Of course, Kenny Baker was there as well, looking at 2026 Bastrop defensive lineman Tiki Hola as well. He was doing the same thing. So I wanted to make that a note because whenever AJ Milwee goes out to see Troy Hune or Dia Bell or Weston Nielsen, they're taking that film back to Steve Sarkisian and then reevaluating things and seeing how they've developed since the last time they've seen them. Well, now they'll get an opportunity to see all 3 of those guys in person, up close and personal, June 1st for the Elite Day. That'll be the first of a couple elite camps coming up in June. I wanted to talk about who else might be in attendance that day. Of course, Jaquan Snell. I saw him last week out of Waxahachie. Texas offered him earlier in April. Really talented kid, probably 6'2", 6'3", can really fly. Great body control, great hands. Really like what he does as well. Caden McCarty out of Cy Ridge, 2027 defensive lineman, has a couple offers already under his belt as well. Only about 6'2", 6'3" at the moment, so we'll see how much his body continues to grow. But, of course, only a freshman at the high school level as well, put on together a really solid freshman campaign in 2023. So he too will also be at the Texas Elite Camp. I wanted to mention one more thing before we get to the University High interviews here in a second. I was also at Westlake High School for their spring game on Thursday, and though Westlake might not have the that blue chip guy, that Ethan Burke, that Colton Vosick, even Connor Robertson, like they've had in the years past, they certainly still have a number of really talented guys and a couple guys that I think could potentially show up on the radar for Texas later on. We'll see, of course, but specifically on the defensive line, there's probably 4 guys that will have the opportunity to go out and play college football. Of course, the first is Connor Vosick, the brother of Colton. He is about 6'6", 6'5" at the moment, has been generating a lot of Ivy and Service Academy interest at the moment. I believe he's up to about 15 offers right now. Key for him is staying healthy. Yeah, kind of the theme of that family at the moment, but when he's healthy, you really see the tools come to life there. He was someone that was not active for the spring game, unfortunately, but that allowed a number of other guys in that defensive line room to really take hold of that opportunity. The first I wanted to mention was Porter Patton, whose father was a former All-Southwest Conference linebacker for Texas back in 1999. 6'7" now, coming up as a 3'5" outside guy. Really talented guy. He stood out to me a couple times, earned an offer from Air Force Thursday afternoon as well. So things are starting to move in the right direction for him. Colin Devine also in that same mix, talented linebacker, all-state honoree kind of guy. But the big one I wanted to mention is 2026 interior defensive lineman. That's Maddox Flint. Only about 6'2", 275 at the moment. But my goodness, I was able to see him in the weight room in the month of January, and my goodness, again, the weight rooms, the squat racks, the bench press impressed me all the way throughout that day. 26 6A defensive newcomer of the year a year ago. Of course, he is also invited to one of those Texas Elite camps. I'll follow up with him here in a little bit to see which day he will be coming in on as well. But talented guy. I know Texas A&M was trying to get him down to camp as well earlier in the wintertime. Right now, we'll see exactly where he does take his trips, but he has been invited to a Texas camp, and I do believe he will make it out to one of those days. He's a guy whose recruitment has yet to really start showing off, but Westlake had a number of coaches following through this cycle for the spring practices. I believe he's a guy, once that tape comes out again in the fall, you will see a number of offers come out and be extended to him at the moment. But to these cats from university, because my goodness, they were really impressive. I'm not going to lie. I've known a lot about London Smith over the years. I had a coach up in the Waco area shoot me a text about 2 years ago, said, you got to come out and see this kid. Didn't disappoint. Waco U, really impressive stuff. 6 foot 175, looks much more built in person than what that number should suggest, I would say. But here's the deal. You'll hear him talk about this coming up, but both of his parents were D1 athletes at Baylor. Mom was a national triple jump champion in 1999. Dad was a three-year starter at safety. So genetics certainly favor him at the moment. His mom actually still coached for Baylor's track for 22 years as well. Really interesting enough. Georgia just offered 2 weeks ago as well, May 3rd. So you kind of get an understanding whenever Georgia comes into Central Texas, what kind of prospect you're dealing with there. I think Texas is going to have a real good opportunity there. Should they be able to deem him a take? Of course, he ran sub 50 in the 400, talented kid. And only going to get better going into his junior year next year. Probably the top in-state wide receiver in the Central Texas region, probably in the conversation for the entire state as well. But Davontrae Kirkland, 2027 safety, kind of being recruited as cornerback safety all over the place on the defensive side, really stood out to me as well. A kid that works with BAM Performance, Bernard Blake, down here in the Austin region. You know that name from Jade Barron, Andrew Makuba, Michael Taft. Been around the block a little bit, produces the best of the region right now, and he's been working with Deantre Kirkland for quite a while now. Of course, I was talking about it earlier. Also about 6 foot, 175. Probably will get up to about a buck 80 by the time the season comes around. Baylor, Houston, Arizona State, Texas Tech, Texas State, up to 8 offers right now. Those are the ones who have thrown their hats in the ring for him. You'll hear a little bit about his ambitious goals for the upcoming season. He said he wants to get up to 12 interceptions in this year to match what his father set back at University High. Still holds the school record. So both guys on the radar for Texas, both guys hoping to get down to Texas for a visit sometime in the next month. Of course, June officials will take precedent, of course, with these guys coming in for the next month or so. But 2026, 27 guys certainly on the radar, as I mentioned earlier. And right now you'll get an understanding of where these guys sit with Texas early on in their recruitments. But go ahead, sit back, relax, enjoy these couple of interviews, and y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. But for On Texas Football, this has been CJ Vogel. Welcome. Down in Waco, 2026 University High, London Smith, wide receiver, one of the top in the state. Tell me how crazy has this spring been with all the coaches filing through?
It's been crazy, a lot of attention coming towards me, but it's all good. Everything's well.
Of course, we actually just saw half the Baylor staff down here. I didn't know both of your parents went to Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
Two D1 athletes there.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me where the athleticism truly comes from.
I'd say it comes from my mom, Olympic athlete, real athletic track and field runner. So, yeah, I think it comes from my mom.
And tell me a little bit about your track and field. I know you're pretty quick on the track.
Oh, yeah, ran the 400, PR'd at 50.
50, all right. So moving to Texas, I know you've been there a few times. You were offered last July, came back for a game, and of course the junior day in January.
Oh, yeah.
What's your relationship like with the Texas staff at the moment?
Oh, Texas is great. They keep everything real. Coach Joseph and Coach Sark always showing love, always hitting me up. Yeah.
And then, of course, big picture-wise, where does Texas kind of fit in? Because I know you've had a lot of schools kind of offering, get you down to campus a little bit.
Texas, they're on top, a little down the road, about an hour or two. So, they're always showing love. They're up there with a bunch of other schools. A bunch of other schools are also showing love, but Texas is up there.
I know Coach Jackson's been recruiting you for a while, but so Coach Sarkisian.
Yeah.
What's he been like?
Oh, Sarkisian's really good people. Always showing love. Says what's up to my mom, my dad. He's always just showing love constantly.
And of course, you mentioned a few visits this summer that you hope to get out to. Who are they? Who are you trying to go see?
Alabama, Oregon, and go back to Texas and Texas A&M.
Perfect. And then a little bit more about your game this offseason. What are you hoping to improve on a little bit in your game?
Getting in and out of cuts, and just being more of a leader.
Perfect. And that's 2026 wide receiver out of University High, London Smith. All right, up here, Waco University High, Davontrae Kirkland, one of the top 2027 defensive backs in the state of Texas. I mean, right off the bat, where did you get this athleticism? Because, you were shining a little bit tonight.
My father was an athlete up here. He has the interception record up here, 12 picks. So I'm coming to beat that. And my mama ran cross country, so I keep my stamina up.
Is that 12 picks in 1 year?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
Regular season. Yes, sir.
Is that the goal this year?
Yes, sir. Past that.
Well, perfect. And then on top of that, I know recruiting's starting to blow up a little bit. This spring was really heavy. Of course, we just saw basically the entire Baylor staff out here tonight. What's it been like for you?
It's been really chill. It's amazing meeting all these coaches, being in relationship. It gets stressful sometimes, but it's just amazing meeting all these people and getting all these opportunities.
Of course, you were down at Texas January 20th for the junior day. What was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. They showed lots of love and make sure you feel welcome there. It's an amazing place, amazing facilities, everybody.
And of course, you mentioned Coach Joseph as a guy that's been talking to you a little bit. What's your relationship like with him, and how's things progressed?
We're real close. We've been talking about it. He wants me to come down there this summer. So it's been real good talking to him and just making our bond stronger.
Do you have plans to get to Texas this summer?
Yes, sir.
Who else is kind of in your ear trying to get you down to campus?
I got Baylor, Texas Tech, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt.
Are those all locked in for the summer?
I got Vanderbilt and Arkansas locked in. I'm still waiting on Texas Tech and Baylor, and then Houston.
Okay, so remind me, how many offers are you up to now?
I got 8 offers.
8 offers. So a 2027 DB out of the Central Texas area. We've seen a few of those end up at Texas. Of course, you trained with Band Performance down in Austin, Bernard Blake. What's he kind of been helping you with in your own game?
He's just been guiding me down the path, make sure my head's on straight, make sure not all this stuff is getting to my head.
On top of 12 interceptions this upcoming year, what are some of your goals and what are you working on? What are some of your strengths?
My strengths are covering people. I'm getting better at tackling, and I just want to be a better leader for this team because I'm basically the head of the defense.
Perfect. And that's 2027 Waco University High defensive back Davontrae Kirkland.